KeyDigital, the experts in digital audio visual and control systems.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got some fun stuff to talk about, fun and exciting HDMI splitters, also known as HDMI distribution amplifiers. You know, we used to avoid the term splitter, but it's just such a common way of referring to the product that we're going to go ahead and embrace it now. You know, but each of these products, you should be assured, has really fantastic handlings, that we're not just simply splitting a signal here. There's going to be a fully buffered signal on every output, enabling you to use this product in a variety of ways. The splitter, if you will, the distribution amplifier. When do you use these products, these distribution amplifiers? Well, as the nickname splitter would imply, it's when you take one source and you go to multiple displays, HDMI displays with this product. We do have 1x2, we have 1x4, and we have 1x8 products under the distribution amplifier product category. So that makes it an ideal product for a variety of applications. You know, imagine not every sports bar, restaurant, or pub has the budget to go putting dozens and dozens of displays with a full AV over IP system throughout the location, do they? So sometimes in the bar, restaurant, or hey, even the flip side of that coin, my local gym, for example, they have some music videos playing or they have sports playing, and they're sending that signal. They're distributing it to many, many displays. 2, 4, 8 are the products that we have. And thanks to our built-in technologies of the full buffer system, you can even cascade these distribution amplifiers to a certain extent. So it's definitely something that you'd want to talk to our design team, if that is within your plans. We'll help design that in a bulletproof way for you. So bar, restaurant, gym, digital signage like these menu boards here that we see in the depicted example, transit stations, airport, train, bus terminals, right? You do not need to put a PC computer behind each and every one of those displays for arrivals and departure, or even for the digital signage distribution within the airport, train stations, and bus terminals. Retail showrooms as well, of course. That kind of goes hand in hand with digital signage. Corporate messaging, so you may have displays throughout the production floors or throughout your building of messages of the day. And a ballroom or presentation, well, what do we mean there is more along the lines of, for example, you have a large projector at the front of the room, and as that ballroom fills up or that presentation space fills up, the folks in the back need to have something to view, right? Well, you can split that signal off with these kind of products to your carts on wheels in order to send that signal and make sure everybody, regardless of if they are seated in the front or the rear of the room, has a great view of the presentation. So when you're doing these products, what kind of design considerations may you have that may lead you to more products within this, to build a solution from KeyDigital products, right? Because we have a number of different product categories, and it's actually quite rare that we just sell one KeyDigital product within a job site. We're typically building systems. That's the goal here at KeyDigital. So one question that you may have is, do I need an HDMI extender to get from the distribution amplifier location all the way to the display? Another question is, what resolution am I doing this at? And do I need to down convert that signal? For example, we do have products with that capability that you'll learn about here. And how about integrating splitters with a matrix or a standard switch to really then send distributed that same signal to many, many displays, growing that in the most cost-effective way possible. Like what we're showing here in this application of a retail showroom. We have a KeyDigital matrix with built-in transmitters, and the 4 outputs is transmitter output plus HDMI output. So we take the HDMI outputs and we could feed splitters, and giving us these different zones. And you could have up to 4 unique contents when you're using our 4x4 switcher. So that could be cable sat for sports, it could be branded contents or digital signage, and so much more. And even with this system, of course, it becomes app ready, and we could even integrate it with our video wall processor. So truly, there's when you're designing these systems, you can truly design a full system that meets your desires and justifies your investments in these technologies. So let's look more closely here now at the products, the KDDA 1x2 DC and the KDDA 1x4 DC. So break down these model numbers for you. KeyDigital, of course, DA, distribution amplifier, 1x2, 1 in, 2 out, and 1x4, 1 in, 4 out. DC. These are the 2 products with that down conversion, that capability to down convert incoming 4K signals to 1080p on the appropriate outputs if enabled. We'll show you how that works in a little more detail. So with these products, they're full 4K 18G resolution support. They support HDR, HDCP 2.2, and they're actually quite small. We have a slide here that will show you that actually shows these measurements and compares them to a very popular consumer device. So you can consumer electronic device. So you could just put that into perspective. And they all have the full buffer technology that is KeyDigital's proprietary. It's the secret sauce, if you will, that makes KeyDigital a brand well known for our know-how in HDMI handling for reliable signal distribution and management. So let's dive into that first tool of the down convert feature. Here, the most important thing that you could learn about this is when you look at that switch, it says off and auto. It doesn't say off and on, okay? So when you set this to auto, an incoming 4K resolution signal will be down converted based on the EDID from your connected display. How smart is that? So in this application, we have one display that is 4K capable. We have another display that is 1080p capable. When we flip that switch to auto, the DA 1x2 DC, the DA 1x4 DC, they go and collect the EDID handshake. In other words, they're going to go ask those monitors, those displays, what do they support? And in the case of the 1080p display, it tells us I support 1080p video resolution, and then we enable that feature on that specific output so that the incoming 4K content is distributed to 1080p resolution to that 1080p display. Meanwhile, still distributed in 4K to the 4K display. Another cool feature of the KDDA 1x2 DC and the KDDA 1x4 DC, a great tool for your integration, is the audio de-embedding feature. And of course, we've had HDMI distribution amplifiers, aka splitters, for a number of generations, well over a decade. So they've not always had audio de-embedding, but as we've grown more and more with KeyDigital, we're always asking ourselves, what would make this product installation friendly for the integrators, for our clients, right? And so that audio de-embedding there, where so many sources nowadays have HDMI as the only connection for audio and video on the output side, think about your Apple TVs, for example. Here, we can split that audio out. It's still going to be active on the HDMI connection, and it's active on the analog or digital audio connection. Just note that there's no volume or muting controls in these audio connections. That brings us now to the KDDA 1x8, an 8-way HDMI splitter, aka distribution amplifier. Supports all of the same video resolutions and HDCP, HDR10, slim chassis, full buffer technology, EDID control, forced hot plug detection. We're going to get into those in just a moment. But as you see, there is no down convert on this product, and there is no audio de-embedding on this product. So let's look at the size of these products. As I mentioned, they're very, they're a nice slim chassis, making it easy to install this in a wide variety of applications. You don't always need an equipment rack if you don't have one. So we can just compare that to my phone here, right? And here we see the DA 1x2 DC. It's less than 5 inches wide. Compare that to the iPhone 13 Pro Max that is 6.3 inches wide. So it is less wide than the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now the DA 1x4 is at 7.4 inches, so it's just a little bit larger, or just barely over an inch larger than the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and the DA 1x8 is under 11 inches for that 1-in 8-output HDMI splitter. So, and then the depth on these, 2.75 inches on the 1x2 and 1x4, 3.25 inches on the DA 1x8, and you can see the width of the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So you could just puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Another nice troubleshooting tool that's built in here. Again, always trying to make the installer's job easy, and any kind of hurdles you may encounter easily overcome, thanks to the input-output active LEDs that are built in here. It's very straightforward. You have up to 8 of these output active LEDs, 1 per display, of course, and that's just going to illuminate solid blue when the distribution amp receives the hot plug detection voltage from the connected display. What is hot plug detection voltage, you might ask? We have a slide for that in just a moment that's going to depict that more, but typically when the display turns on, it's going to send that voltage backward to the source. In this case, the DA is the source, and that's what primes up the handshake process. And with that hot plug being active, we're going to illuminate that LED there for you. The input active, well, it's also based on it's not just, it is the hot plug voltage, sorry, tripped over I was reading the text and trying to talk at the same time. When the source then reciprocates that hot plug detection, plus it starts to give the data of, hey, okay, here's my audio video signal, and there's a whole lot of communication that's happening with the HDMI, of course, in addition to audio video. So that's going to be illuminating the input active, or if there's no signal present, then it'll blink that input active LED. Now, all 3 of these HDMI distribution amplifier products include the EDID control rotary. So what does this do for you? Well, our product is capable of 4K 18 gigabits per second, but that doesn't necessarily ensure that your displays or projectors or that are 4K 18G. It doesn't even ensure that they're 1080p. Maybe you have some 720 monitors or displays in the system still. And that's why we give you the EDID rotary. Simply refer to the manual where you see this table, you're going to take your little tweaker tool, you're going to turn that dial to the setting that matches, and basically matches the highest common denominator of your system, so that you, the installer, tell the HDMI video source, here's what I want to give. I want you to output into this splitter so that it can be distributed throughout, right? Here's the video resolution, and here's the audio format. And you see that with every video resolution, we actually include 3 different types, 3 different audio options: 2-channel, 5.1, 6.1 surround, and HD audio. So that's your 7.1 surround. So we give you that option here to choose it, because that really puts the control in your hand as the integrator, making sure that the signal goes through as desired, so that you have picture on all of your displays that you're integrating. And of course, you could combine this tool with your 4K to 1080p down convert feature, and it's really just going to optimize your system completely. Another part of KeyDigital's proprietary full buffer system is the TMDS, that's your AV signal reclocking. So of course, these application examples that we've shown, you got your video source right there next to the splitter, right? Well, it's not always that way, is it? You might have a 50-foot HDMI cable or some HDMI extenders, for example. And so one of the key features of the full buffer system is TMDS reclocking, where we see the before and after here. And, ones and zeros of a digital AV signal, in order for those to be read clearly by the display, it should look like a nice open eye, right? The data inside that eye needs to be clearly legible to interpret what's a 1 and a 0 versus a squiggly line. And if you have issues with your TMDS signal and those 1s and 0s looking more like squiggly lines, sometimes that shows up with these kind of digital sparkle you may see on your screen, especially if you have like a gray screen. So you should know that all KeyDigital products, the incoming signal immediately gets reclocked on the incoming RX chip before it is then distributed to all 2, 4, or 8 outputs. And that's why we call these HDMI distribution amplifiers. It's not just taking a signal and splitting it 8 ways, kind of leading one to think that the signal is 8 times as weak, 1/8 as strong as when it came in, right? We don't want to confuse folks that way. Another built-in tool of the full buffer system is this extremely valuable switch called forced HPD. Now, I kind of talked about it a moment ago. If you did have a simple one-to-one connection, say your cable box at home connected to your TV, the cable box is probably always on, but your TV is not. Well, the TV, upon turning on, will provide that voltage backward to the source, saying, hey, you've got a live partner here on the other end of that HDMI cable. The source then reciprocates, telling the display, okay, yes, you have a live partner here as well. And then they move on to things like the EDID handling and the HDCP authentication. Now, what does it look like if you have a problem that perhaps the source doesn't detect that it has a live partner on the other end of its cable? It's not going to output anything. Or perhaps if you have a 1x8 and one of your 8 displays, your projector perhaps just keeps cycling through the input. So remember, the hot plug detection voltage has to complete that loop. And so by forcing the hot plug detection, we are turning that voltage to the high state on pin 19. That's where this is all done, turning it to the high state so that the source always thinks it has a live partner connected on the other end of the HDMI cable. The display, the projector, always thinks it has a source connected right there locally, instead of, you notice well, how does the behavior go if we set that forced HPD to off? It's just passed through. And we want to give that ability in those systems. We don't always want to force that out of the box, but this is a good tool for troubleshooting. And I would say there's probably no harm in turning that to the on position in your installations, even if you don't have problems, but just make sure you verify every display in both settings when you're doing those installation adjustments. So there you go. These are some fantastic tools built into our distribution amplifiers. You saw some features like the 4K to 1080p down convert feature that is, and the audio de-embedding that is built in exclusively to the DA 1x2 and 1x4 DC. Then we saw a variety of tools that was shared between the entire product category. So we hope this has been helpful for you, but if you do have questions about these, perhaps how to obtain any of these products or more, please do reach out to our very knowledgeable team on our sales side. You could reach them at sales@keydigital.com. Thanks very much for joining us.
KeyDigital, the experts in digital audio visual and control systems.